Hello and Croeso, welcome. My name's Lynne and this is my knitting podcast, Calon Yarns. This week I have some works in progress to show you and also a catch up on a planned project that you've been giving me lots of help with. So we better get started. I hope you've got a project on the go that I can keep you company with. I hope you've got a drink. I've got a cup of tea. Yes, I've got quite a bit to talk about this week. Last week we were at Stitch Fest Southwest. Hopefully you will have seen that podcast last weekend, which just gives a little bit of an outline of the amazing makers that we saw, some sneaky purchases that we made, and just as you do, I'm sure, it was lovely to spend a weekend with the knitting chums, just chatting about yarn, chatting about projects and not feeling like we're boring each other when we discuss for the 15th time whether we should be using 4-ply or DK, or are those needles going to be the correct size, or this pattern doesn't make sense, help. It was that pretty much for the whole weekend, but yes, it was a wonderful, wonderful time. So thank you, Karen and Tracy, for being wonderful company as always. And it was lovely to chat to so many of you at Stitch Fest Southwest. And yeah, we were very much spoiled, weren't we, with some amazing yarn dyers and makers and general crafters. So yeah, it seems like 1,000 years ago now. Anyway, I've made some good progress with my project, so I wanted to share those with you today, as I said. And also, everybody has given me some excellent suggestions for my Nellie and Eve oatmeal colour planned project with the 5 colours from ginger, pink. I will get them in a second to remind us. We don't need reminding, but people send me lots and lots and lots of suggestions, so I thought I'd run through those with you as well in a bit, because they can help you guys as well. I was introduced to some new designers, so I want to share them with you too. But anyway, the knitting projects first. So I think I was knitting on this last time. This is my Pelica Vest, the ever popular Pelica Vest, and I'll put details down below. I'm not knitting it out of rustic fibres. I'm trying to use up some stash, so I'm doing it in the Debbie Bliss Mia, as if you've been here for a while you will know. Is it going to focus? Yeah, Debbie Bliss Mia, which I don't think they do anymore. I think it's been, what's the word? Discontinued, maybe? I can't really see it anymore. But it's a wool cotton mix and it is very, very lovely to knit with. But it doesn't really, it's not very forgiving. If you've got uneven tension or you have stretch the yarn a little bit, it doesn't really forgive very much. So you've got to be really sure that your stitches are nice and neat. Not that mine are, but I do kind of go back sometimes and kind of adjust the tension if there's a little bit of a snag in one of the stitches. Really easy to split as well, and when you split it, when you're knitting into it, again, it affects the overall neatness of it, so you've just got to be quite careful with it, I think. But yeah, making some good progress. So it is a provisional cast on here. You kind of do that bit of the back and then you come down and start to work on the front side. So this is the buttonhole side, so I've just done the first buttonhole and then I'm working down through. Oh no, that's right, I thought I was showing you the wrong side then, but I am showing the right side. So yeah, it seems to be a really clear pattern so far. I love this I-cord edging that you do on the way round. So I know that you can kind of, instead of doing a ribbed border, you can add on an I-cord border, but in this pattern you do it whilst you're knitting. I mean, joy, joy, joy. So yes, a really lovely technique if you're not going to be adding ribbed borders afterwards, that you kind of do it as you're going round. So hopefully we'll be adapting that to other patterns. There's me pretending I am really, really intelligent and able to do that, but I think I might be able to just do that on a pattern that doesn't have it written. I've got myself in a bit of a knot back here, excuse me 1 second. Okay, oh gosh, how have I done that? Right, okay, so that's that one, ticking away nicely. I have cast on my Musselburgh hat, and I know this has been a really, really popular pattern, but as you will have seen in previous episodes, I had a skein of yarn that was bought by my daughter when she was when they were in Norway, for me to knit a hat out of. So the Musselburgh hat, so it's kind of a big long tube, and then you put one side of the tube inside the other, so it's a what's it called, a brimmed hat, but it's double thickness. Now then, I was going to say the recipe then. The pattern is very, very well written in that it has lots of options for other thicknesses of yarn or lots of different sizes, which is great, but you do need to kind of focus in on the bit that is appropriate to you. But also what you do, which I thought is quite genius, and I know you probably know this already, but it was exciting for me, is that you start at the top, which is a little bit fiddly, I'm not going to lie. However, when you are knitting out from the top then, so you knit down to about here, I suppose, so that's the middle, the top, knit down to about here, and then you measure your gauge, and then you decide how many stitches you're going to need. Excuse the banging. They're putting up a lot of pictures next door. They seem to be putting up pictures for the last like 10 months. So apologies if you can hear that banging. We'll ignore. Anyway, yeah, so you do the gauge on the way down, which means that you choose the needle size that you think are most appropriate for the yarn that you're using, and then you can decide then the finer details of how many stitches you might need depending on the gauge you get to. So you increase out and then you head down, down the hat. Now, I got to about here and it just felt really, really small. And in the pattern it says, it will feel really, really small. It will seem, don't panic, don't panic. Obviously I did panic. So I did do one round of extra increases than it was suggested for my gauge. And I think I'm glad I did, because it's going to be double thickness. This yarn is quite stiff anyway. I think it's going to loosen up quite a bit when it's being blocked, rather. So I'm not too concerned about that, but it was just a tad too small without that final set of increases. You increase in 4 places around. So I added one more increase than I was supposed to. Don't tell Isolde. But now it feels better. It's still quite snug, but I think that will give a little bit, and there'll be an extra layer of fibre, extra layer of fabric. So I'm not too concerned that it's going to be too big. I'm still a little bit concerned that it's going to be too small, but I think we'll be all right. I think I'll be able to stretch it, and it will relax a little bit once it's blocked. Certainly this yarn, the inside yarn, is a little bit more soft, a little bit softer. But this is a Hillersvåg sock yarn, which feels really sturdy. Anyway, so that's my fun fact about that, having to do another set of increases. And this really is what I was talking about when we were kind of going over and over and over. I think I must have bored Tracy and Carol senseless about, well, I can't see that this is ever going to work. And Tracy is very good, because she's quite happy to kind of have a little go and pull it back if it doesn't work. Whereas I don't like that. I don't like going backwards. So I was just really keen to get it right. I think it'll be okay. We'll see. I have tried it on. I've put it on wider needles and tried it on. And like I say, it's snug, but I think I will be able to block it out a little bit. So that is that, making some good progress on the Musselburgh hat. And then the only other thing I've got on the needles really is a pair of socks. These are going to be another set of socks for my husband. So this is out of the Berger Gumi 50 So they're 50-gram balls. But yes, it's quite a plain design that is in the ball. But yeah, knitting up quite well. I tend to do sort of like about a palm's worth. Obviously they're for my husband, so they're a little bit longer normal than I would have normally. But I do like a palm's worth to know that I've got around and about as much as I need for the cuff, and then another palm's worth for up to the toe, and then I'll start to measure and be a bit more precise. Although I say that, I do have a measuring tape as a bracelet, so I do have a form of measurement with me if I'm out and about with my projects. So yes, that's all the progress on those projects really. But, and bear with me 1 second, I'm back. But I just wanted to share some of the patterns that you'd sent across for my, I was just going to kind of show you in the bag, but you can't really see that. But I'm not to get everything out because I've shown it a couple of times. So this is my next planned cast on, and I will go through some of the pattern suggestions that people made, because I think it'll be really useful to have a little look at some bits and bobs that other people have sent. So hopefully I'll be able to put the pictures in here, and I'll put the details in the show notes, etc. So anyway, so thank you if you sent across some suggestions. I'm very, very grateful, and was introduced to various rabbit holes and new designers that I clicked away and favorited in my Ravelry list. So the first one was suggested by Marika Knits. Marisa? Anyway, I'll put it down below. But yes, so she suggested the Paul Klee sweater by Knit Cafe Midori. Midori Heroes, is it? Who did the Ranunculus, I believe. So the Paul Klee sweater. So yeah, lots of nice colours there. Not sure about that one in terms of how much yarn that I have, but a very interesting pattern and design there. The next one was the Strange Brew sweater. So anyone who knows Tin Can Knits, then they have like a recipe for sweaters, and that is in a book, the Tin Can Knits Strange Brew sweaters book, and you can kind of create, there's patterns in there, but you can also create your own recipe, and that was suggested obviously by Julia from the Happy Knitting podcast. Thank you, Julia. And also the Isolde Teague, having a look through their patterns, which I have done, and I think I showed those on episode 72, was it? Pamela suggested the Lunenburg sweater by Amy Christophers, or Chiara by the same designer, and that was very lovely. I really like the pattern on that one. I like the kind of the slow, it's almost like a slow fade in some of the design choices that they've made, so I'll certainly be looking at that, and that's a sport weight pattern, but I think there's something interesting in the way that fades, almost fades through, and just need to check in terms of the amount of colours, the length that is required, and how many, but that is a very lovely pattern. I think especially if you've got a rustic type yarn, the way that the colour work blends into each other is very, very lovely. And yes, looking at some more of their designs, absolutely gorgeous. So thank you for that, Pamela. She also suggested this is the same design as the Barocco pattern, which I think is another very, very popular pattern as well. Zenit Knits, a designer I hadn't come across before. That's from L Scott, maybe. Yes. Lots of very, very lovely colourwork sweaters. So if you like more of a vibrant colourwork sweater or an all-over colourwork sweater, maybe have a look at Zenit Knits. And then somebody else suggested, or Visit with Nana and Papa, they suggested the Kintra sweater, which again, a very, very lovely combination of colours. I'm just having a look at it now. That almost seems to have lines coming through. And again, with a rusticy yarn, certainly a yarn with a plume, again, that would be quite a lovely design. Not sure that it's right for these colours, but you can see that the vibrancy of those colours would be fabulous if you had some very contrasting yarns. But yeah, a lovely suggestion there. Thank you very much. And then I had a suggestion of the Glenif sweater, which I know that Helen from Nellie and Eve has done, and I think has done a couple of them maybe. That was suggested by Zilla, and that pattern is by Tanya Barley. And again, that is very, very lovely, beautiful, very delicate design there across the yoke, but not sure that it's the right pattern for those colours. Sorry, Chewy the dog. There's people walking past, isn't there? How rude. I know, you're all right. So yeah, not sure about that one, but a lovely pattern in the favourite list, ready for next time. Then Julia Turney, I think is your name, thank you. The Gwendolyn sweater by Jane Van Zeloos. I'll put all these details down below in the show notes, but that is a lovely sweater, very, very detailed. I think if I had more yarn, I would be intrigued by that one, and also a bit of texture, very much like the is it the Zweig I did that had texture and colour? Where is that? Where is my Zweig? I'm not sure. I have to have a little look. But yes, so thank you for that one. And then Helen from Nellie and Eve, she suggested the Birkin, and that I've seen that sweater a few times, and very very pretty, very floral, or not floral, what's the word, natural kind of design, colourwork pattern, and that is very, very lovely again. Although I have to say, I find that Caitlin Hunter's necklines are really, really tricky. And funnily enough, when I was looking through the project, and that's what I like to do, is look at the pattern and then look at the project, because you can kind of see what different people are doing. But quite a few of those projects had come up with the fact that the neckline is quite tricky. And yeah, Caitlin Hunter's patterns are very, very popular, but I do find that sometimes the fit isn't quite right. I don't know what your thoughts are. Maybe it's me. Maybe I'm reading the pattern wrong. Yeah, let me know what you think. But yeah, not sure. I've done a couple of Caitlin Hunters in the past, and still I've found that I've had to adapt the neckline slightly, and just the way that it kind of shapes and increases, I think. But like I say, it could easily be operator error, but I'd be interested to know your thoughts. Yes, so some lovely suggestions there. I couldn't kind of include them all, otherwise we'd have been here for a week, although, you know, I'm fine by that. But yeah, I appreciate you sending along those suggestions, and I will have a look. I'll try and get nearly to the end of my Polina before I cast on, but it would be nice to do it soon. It's still quite mild here in the UK at the moment, certainly in Wales, so it curiously doesn't really feel like that it is properly sweater weather. I've got my very thin, I haven't told you what I'm wearing. How rude. This is my Ironworks tee by, can't remember, I'll put it down below. But this is just a little t-shirt with a slight pattern border there, which is shorter, I think, than it is in the pattern. I didn't really have very much yarn, so this is my hand spun. The blue is my hand spun. It is chewy. The blue is my hand spun, and the red is just a bit of leftover yarn from my from another sweater I knitted before. Yeah. Oh, what is it? Can't remember. Do you have that where it's just, I've probably got the first couple of letters, but nothing more. Anyway, doesn't matter. Maybe I'll see if I can... Where's that as well? Don't know. That's kind of a red and white one. So that's a Christmassy type one. Anyway, doesn't matter. But yeah, my Ironworks tee, and one of my first spinning projects, this blue yarn, so I'm quite pleased with that. It's very, very uneven, but I think when you knit it up, it just seems to disappear, doesn't it? You kind of, you know, it all kind of blends into one. And I know Carol was knitting with her hand spun last weekend, and she was worried that, oh, it's too thick and thin, It looked beautiful. The texture just kind of blends out. So if you are somebody that has spun up some yarn but are not sure that you're ready to knit it up yet, go for it. Do it, honestly. Once it's knitted and blocked, it kind of looks like it's shot board. Do you know what I mean? Anyway, oh, you're going up there now, are you? Oh, he's very bored. Sorry, Chew. He's like, who are you talking to? Anyway, I think that is it from me for this week for Knitting Chatter. If you haven't yet, do go back and look at the Stitch Fest West Southwest episode. Really lovely opportunity to see some new or some more makers and dyers and creators. It's nice to be able to support those smaller businesses, and I will put all the links, or I have put all the links down below for those websites, for those makers that we chatted to at the Yarn Festival. I will do the Knit and Natter episode on a different episode, so if you want to join me for a little bit of a sit and knit for a bit, then grab yourself another cuppa. I will grab my knitting, and I will either see you here next week for more knitting chat, or I'll see you in the Knit and Natter for some general life catch-ups. Okay then, diolch pawb, lovely to have you here. I will speak to you again soon. Hwyl, bye.